What's happening? What up? What to do? That's for show. But everybody in my city say, what up, doe? What up? What up, doe? What up? What up, doe? What's going on, y'all? Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, allowance is made for the fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research, y'all. So I was cruising on the news updates, and I think it was last month. Wait, yeah, December. It's January. Yeah, December. Darnell Jones was monster number 3. I want to say I did a 10 countdown or whatever, and he was number 3, I do believe. And there has been some updates since then. So I wanted to bring the awareness about the updates for our girl, Keimani Latigue. She was 13 years old. Her father did horrendous acts to her and left her in an abandoned in Lucas County, Ohio, y'all. May she rest in peace. This is make sure y'all be sure to answer the poll. Give me 1 second. So be sure to answer that poll in the chat if you get a second. Because this is Lucas County, Ohio's first death penalty case if he is found guilty. So, should he get the chair? Yay or nay? Should he get the chair? Yay or nay? And then shout out to my replay gang. Shout out to y'all. Make sure you leave me and Big, yours truly, and the biggest M I know. Salute. What up, Big M? What up? What it do?
What up? Hey, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great.
That's good. That's good.
Chucky.
Yeah, so leave a comment for yours truly and the biggest M. I know, and everybody coming in and out of the live, kindly take whatever finger you would like, real smooth like, real cool like, and tap on that thumbs up button for yours truly and the biggest M. I know, share the live, subscribe if you haven't yet. It's free 99. Grab a membership. It's cold in the D, y'all, and I must say, you would look way better in green over here. Just my opinion, just my opinion. That's it. That's all. And then, my bushwatchers. Yeah, y'all. I see you up there. Bushwatchers. Take whatever finger you would like. Real smooth like. Real cool like with a K. And it's true like as you can. Tizzy tap on that thumbs up button for yours truly and the biggest M I know, So yeah, there's been a couple updates because remember, Big M, we broke down Darnell Jones. He was monster number 3 back in January, right? I mean December, the end of December. Remember? She remembers. Ah, what the heck is going on? Okay, so let's look at these updates again. Darnell Jones is looking at the chair, y'all. He's looking at the chair. Lucas County's first case that might end with the punishment being going to the chair. So let's take a look and see what's going on with this case. Justice for Keimani Latigue.
With Roku's new self-service ad tool, it's easy to set up your own CTV campaigns, so you can tap into Roku's leading scale and expand your marketing.
Darnell Jones Ogletree, who's accused of killing 14-year-old Keimani Latigue, is asking the court for money to help pay for expert support in his trial. Jones's lawyer says he can't afford to hire his own legal team. They filed a motion requesting funds for additional expert help, with the exact amount to be decided at a private hearing. That hearing is set for September 15th at 9:30 a.m. His attorneys say this request is allowed under Ohio law and backed by U.S. Supreme Court precedent. They argue it's necessary to ensure Jones gets a fair trial without putting the state's rights at risk. New details in the case of Darnell Jones Ogletree, the man accused of murdering his 13-year-old daughter. A judge has denied a motion to dismiss the death penalty specifications for Jones. The motion was filed by Jones's attorneys on July 15th. The state filed its opposition weeks later. A court document filed yesterday from the judge says all issues raised by the defense have been rejected. Jones is facing charges of aggravated murder, rape, kidnapping, and more in the death of 13-year-old Keimani Latigue. We're learning more tonight about the case against a Toledo man accused of murdering his daughter, Keimani.
So yeah, I have it all in order. We're just it's going to the most recent. So the very last one will be the very most recent one, which was 1 month ago. So they denied taking the chair off the table. Ohio ain't playing with your ass, Darnell Jones. You might be getting the chair, man. Or I don't know what it is in Ohio. It might be, I don't know, but you might be sentenced. You might get the same sentence that you gave your daughter. Crazy work.
Latigue. Court documents recently filed in the prosecution of Darnell Jones shows some of the evidence prosecutors have turned over to his attorneys as part of the discovery process. There are 27 items, including cell phone data, phone analysis, camera footage, and investigative reports. One item caught our eye, though. It's a video of a female saying Keimani was pregnant. We reached out to the Lucas County coroner about whether there was evidence of a pregnancy during her autopsy. The coroner did reiterate that Keimani died of multiple cuts to the neck, but could not offer any further details because the case is being prosecuted. However, he did say no gross evidence of pregnancy was identified, meaning no identifiable placenta or fetus, and that a pregnancy test was not performed. Thus, a very early gestation was not tested for. Jones is charged with several crimes, including the murder and rape of Keimani Latigue. We also reached out to the prosecutor's office, which did not comment.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
We are starting right away this afternoon with breaking news.
Man, again, this little girl was 13 years old. This is her father, y'all. Make sure you hug your babies, hold them tight, love on your babies. They're innocent. And as a father, man, you're supposed to protect your shorties, man. We got to protect our shorties, y'all. Protect the shorties. Justice for the babies. Justice for Keimani Latigue.
We now know, according to a girl's grandmother, the body of a missing Toledo 13-year-old has been found.
It surprised me that took place right here. I didn't like it. I still don't.
Well, tonight it has been nearly 5 months since 13-year-old Keimani Latigue was found dead in an abandoned house in East Toledo. And neighbors say they won't let the memory of that day or the memory of Keimani fade. Good to have you with us here tonight at 11. I'm Jeff Smith. Kaylee with the night off tonight. A memorial for Keimani's name was left behind in that area, and it's been growing ever since. Silver Barker, she visited the site today. She joins us now live. Silver, it's still standing strong, isn't it?
Jeff, it absolutely is. When I first visited this memorial just a few months ago, there were balloons, there were candles, and a few stuffed animals. Well, now that has expanded. See, if you can see here, I know it's a little dark here, but it's expanded much more than that, showing just how much the community cares. It started small, but 5 months later, it's grown into this.
They put the mulch down. They put some boards, painted them, and put them down for the trim.
A lasting memorial for 13-year-old Keimani Latigue, found dead inside an abandoned home in March.
It looks actually nice over there, you know, everything that they got it.
Shout out to the community. Shout out to the community for supporting this tragedy. Standing on business, community. Shout out to that community.
That's for sure. I apologize. I got a call from my brother. It's like he's in the hospital in Georgia, and that's what I was on.
Dang, is he smooth? Is he cool?
I think he had a heart attack, so I'm trying to find out.
Well, prayers, if you need to drop, you know, I understand and let me know.
I'm gonna be here, so just know
Okay,
I'm on.
okay, for sure.
Okay.
All right, prayers to you, Big M.
Thank you. Salute.
Salute.
The way they got it set up, it looks nice.
Since then, neighbors say the site has been cared for week after week after week.
People out here fixing everything up, make sure when the wind blows, it's picked back up, dead flowers are picked up, and, you know, everything's just kept nice and neat.
Terry Davis, who's lived in the neighborhood for more than 20 years, says he's done what he can to maintain it.
I cut the grass that's between the memorial and the road there because I cut the whole lot down there.
When the memorial was first created, the outpouring was overwhelming.
It did in the beginning, like, felt really bad, but I see a lot of people like find comfort coming just to hang out here and, you know, show respect still.
Now, neighbors say it's calmed down, but they're still waiting for justice. Darnell Jones, the man accused of raping and murdering Keimani, is due back in court in just a month.
Yeah, I hope he gets a death penalty.
You know, I'm just hoping that justice is served soon, because it just seems like everything's been dropped, but I know it takes a long time.
Now, this is a capital murder case,
Which I do want to remind everybody, Darnell Jones is Keimani Latigue's father, biological father. Yeah.
Jones could be possibly eligible for the death penalty. However, Jones' attorney did motion, or at least file with the judge, or motion with the judge, an attempt to drop that penalty. We will make sure to keep you updated on his pretrial hearing coming up next month, September 19th. We'll keep you updated, of course, on air and both online. Reporting in East Toledo, Silver Barker, WTOL 11.
Your podcast transcript is here, and you just have to edit the text, and that will edit the podcast.
Well, right now, we are learning new details about a disturbing case. The man charged with kidnapping and killing his 13-year-old daughter, Keimani Latigue, facing a judge today. And tonight, attorneys say they are still waiting on key pieces of evidence in the dark.
1 second, guys. Hold on 1 second.
Killing his 13-year-old daughter, Keimani Latigue, was back in court today. Darnell Jones's defense attorneys want access to complete records from Lucas County Children's Services and potentially from other counties. The defense says records are critical for building their case and should be released directly to the defense, not to the court first. The state plans to file a motion to invalidate the subpoena, saying the records should be reviewed by a judge before being handed over. A decision was not made in court today. The judge says Jones is due back in court Friday. Darnell Jones Ogletree. The man accused of killing his 13-year-old daughter, Keimani Latigue, was back in court today. Darnell Jones's defense attorneys want
a new court filing is shedding light on key evidence in the murder case of Keimani Latigue. Attorneys for her father, Darnell Jones, have filed a motion to suppress evidence gathered from a March search of his home and SUV. Police seized a pair of girls' underwear allegedly stained with blood, a plastic mat, and muddy boots. But the defense argues the search warrant was based on weak hearsay.
Man, I don't even know. Everybody, I guess, has got a right to the Constitution. So I'm not even going to say what I was going to say. But everyone has a right to a fair trial. That's it. That's all, folks.
From Keimani's grandmother, Dorothy Latigue, and Jones's girlfriend, Nina Turner, and lacks probable cause. A judge will now decide whether that evidence can be used in court.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44. This is
A new court filing is shedding light on key evidence in the murder case of Keimani Latigue. Attorneys for her father, Darnell Jones, have filed a motion to suppress evidence.
News 9 at 6, a new court filing is shedding light on key evidence in the murder case of Keimani Latigue. Attorneys for her father, Darnell Jones Ogletree, have filed a motion to suppress evidence gathered from a March search of his home and SUV. Police seized a pair of girls' underwear allegedly stained with blood, a plastic mat, and muddy boots. But the defense argues the search warrant was based on weak hearsay from Keimani's grandmother and Jones's girlfriend, Nina Turner, and lacks probable cause. A judge will now decide whether that evidence can be.
A new court filing is shedding light on key evidence in the murder case of Keimani.
News 9 at 6, a new court filing is shedding light on key evidence in the murder case of Keimani Latigue. Attorneys for her father, Darnell Jones Ogletree, have filed a motion to suppress. There's a new deadline in the court case of Darnell Jones Ogletree, the man accused of murdering his teen daughter. A Lucas County Common Pleas judge says Jones has until October 30th to raise an insanity defense. He has until October 13th to contest that date. Jones is accused of raping and killing his 13-year-old daughter, Keimani Latigue, and then dumping her body in an abandoned house in March. His trial is set to start in late April. This is a death penalty case.
We've got an update in the case against the man accused of.
There's a new deadline in the court case of.
Tonight, we're going to start with new information in the Keimani Latigue murder case. In fact, her accused killer and father, Darnell Jones.
So he's trying to get in sanity, when he was arrested, he was pew-pewed. He got into a pew-pew, and did not succumb to his injuries. He was, injured for a while. But yeah, I don't know. But that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to do an insanity plea. I wonder if it's going to work for him.
No. Ogletree was in court earlier today where his defense team revealed they will.
Big M says no. I say no, and that's just my opinion, but our opinions don't really matter in these type of cases, so let's just keep it moving.
Raise an insanity defense. Several other issues were discussed in this capital murder case. 11 investigates Melissa Andrews. She was in court for the hearing. So, Mel, the focus tonight is on that insanity defense.
Yes, it's really the big headline out of what happened in court today. Jones' attorney, David Klukas, said they're going to raise the issue as a defense with a filing, but they're not ready yet.
But as I observed, I see that he's kind of, it looks like he's healed up and he's got a fro, so he's been in jail for some time, so I just say about what I observed in the courtroom from this here screen, but let's keep listening. Justice for Keimani Latigue, Forever 13.
Today's hearing was in response to a deadline the judge had set for the defense to say whether or not they're going to pursue insanity or mental illness as a defense. Klukas said they've just not had enough time to review records, including those children's services records pertaining to Keimani, and it's too early to appoint any experts on this issue.
Interesting. I'm going to jot that down in my handy dandy notebook. I wonder, my question, I'm not trying to, I'm going to write my question down is, I wonder what, child reports would have to do with, insanity, but it might have a lot to do with it. None of us know what those reports entail. And, no need to speculate because it'll all come out. So let's just keep listening. But I did jot that down,
Klukas and the judge agreed that the defense would raise the insanity issue with a filing by December 8th. The court discussed a few other issues, including 4 motions filed by the defense to suppress evidence and the state's response to those motions. The two sides will have oral arguments on those motions to keep certain evidence out of the trial on November 24th.
Hold on 1 second, y'all. I just wanted to look up. Grounds for suppressing evidence in Michigan, unlawful search and seizure, Miranda rights violation, coerced confession, violation of the right to counsel, fruit of the poisonous tree, which is this doctrine includes evidence that was discovered indirectly as a result of a prior illegal search or police action. Chain of custody errors. So that's one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors one of the defense is trying to use to defend Darnell Jones. So they're trying to suppress evidence, and they have those 6 factors they can use to back up their argument.
The court also said it's still looking at thumb drives of data provided by Children's Services. The defense previously requested 2,000 pages of Children's Services documents saying they contain information relevant to the defense. Last month, the judge said he would review those records to determine whether they're relevant to the case. The two sides will meet in judges' chambers on this issue on November 5th. For 11 Investigates, I'm Melissa Andrews.
I started a business to give old clothes a new life, and Chase has supported me from the beginning.
Tonight, we're going to start with new information in the Keimani Latigue murder case. In fact, her accused killer and father, Darnell Jones Ogletree, was in court earlier today, where his defense team revealed they will raise an insanity defense. Several other issues were discussed.
Defense attorneys for the man accused of killing 13-year-old Keimani Latigue are now seeking children's services records from outside Lucas County. According to newly filed court documents, records show a subpoena was served on Cuyahoga County Children's Services in Cleveland, and a Lucas County judge has approved a defense request to subpoena Mahoning County Children's Services in Youngstown. The filings don't specify what records are being sought, but they show the defense is expanding its pretrial investigation beyond Northwest Ohio. Darnell Jones has pleaded not guilty to murder, rape, and kidnapping. A suppression hearing is scheduled for tomorrow at 9 a.m., where a judge will decide whether certain evidence can be used at a trial.
And an update for you. The man accused of killing his teenage daughter.
Defense attorneys for the man accused of killing 13-year-old Keimani Latigue are now seeking children's services records from outside Lucas County, according to newly filed.
Well, in the state of Ohio versus Darnell Jones, it took another step toward a possible trial today at the Lucas County Courthouse with a suppression hearing. We have told you that Jones is accused of killing his daughter, 13-year-old Keimani Latigue, back in March, and now faces multiple charges tied to her disappearance and death, including murder, kidnapping, and rape. WTOL 11's Jack Crum was in court this morning and filed this report.
This is case R25-548, State of Ohio versus Darnell Jones.
The pursuit of justice in the Keimani Latigue case continued Wednesday morning in downtown Toledo. The court held a near 3-hour-long suppression hearing. This is where the judge, state, and defense discuss what evidence the jury will be allowed to see come trial time.
We have 4 motions to suppress that were filed by the defense set for hearing this morning. Denominated motions number 9, 10, 11, and 12.
The 4 motions discussed for suppression all
So this was December 17th, 2025, and then we have our latest update, which will be next, which was 5 days ago, y'all.
challenge the warrants and the evidence based on how it was collected. The defense for Darnell Jones argued police took items not listed in search warrants, like sweatpants and shoes, from the crime scene on Willard Street. This question was directed to TPD Detective Danielle Mooney under oath.
Who gave you consent to take the black sweatpants?
I believe it was Nina, but I don't specifically recall that conversation with her.
But the state argued police followed standard procedures and acted in good faith.
As cited in the state's response, the Ohio Supreme Court has consistently held that consent to search may be obtained by an individual who possesses common authority over the premises, which Ms. Nina Turner certainly did.
A warrant used to obtain Jones' cell phone records was also disputed.
Data that you were seeking in the cell phone records for the defendant Darnell Jones. Where were you under the belief that data was actually created in?
Lucas County.
The judge did not schedule a follow-up pre-trial, and the next status pre-trial meeting is expected to happen in mid to late January. In downtown Toledo, I'm Jack Crum, WTOL 11.
Save money and wash your car as much as you want with free vacuums with the Clean Express Wash Smart up.
Crazy work. We're moseying along, and he's gonna be soon be going on trial. So I want to let y'all know when we come back later tonight, me and Big M, you know, we want to conduct ourselves in a professional way while we advocate for, you know, missing or, you know, children that have been unalived by their parents and SA'd or just unalived, just, you know, so we're going to try to conduct ourselves really professional. But I'm going to drop my our Discord link later on this evening, and we can sit in the back on the back end, and we can voice our opinions in the back end. We're not on this here internet. And, you know, do it that way. So if you would like to join the table and we could, you know, talk about how we feel about the case on the back end, I will be dropping my Discord link for y'all, and you can come join yours truly in the biggest M I know, and we can pop our ish in the back. You know, gotta keep it professional for the babies, man.
Yeah.
We gotta do better.
Yeah, I apologize. I said, yeah, it was a nice show. I had a lot going on today, and it was my first day back.
You sound so much better. I'm so glad.
I feel so much better. I feel so much better.
I can feel your vibrations through the screen again.
So we coming back tonight. I'll be back full effect, you know, ready to talk with y'all or whatever.
Yep, and
so I'm gonna drop now, but everybody be breezy, you know, peace.
Oh, you're gonna drop now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna hit you up later, and yep, we'll be back. We're gonna come back at 10. Does that work for you, Big M?
For sure.
All right. Peace.
Peace.
Be smooth now. Be cool and true. I know you will. It's all love, Big M. All right, y'all. Again, so I'm gonna be dropping yours truly in the biggest M I know, our Discord on our evening presentation, and we can pop our ish in the back, but we're gonna conduct ourselves professionally in the front of the class, if you know what I mean. This latest update was from 5 days ago, which would be the 19th. I do believe. Hold on. 25, 24, 23. Hold on. 22. My bad. The 21st, y'all. My bad.
A Lucas County judge has ruled key evidence will stay in the case against a Toledo father accused of murdering his 13-year-old daughter, Keimani Latigue. In a decision filed today, Judge Michael Goulding denied 2 defense motions to throw out search warrants used to seize a home security system, Keimani's missing underwear, and a plastic mat from Darnell Jones' home and vehicle. The judge found there was enough probable cause tying those items to the missing child investigation and said officers relied on the warrants in good faith. The ruling also notes Jones's live-in girlfriend, Nina Turner, invited officers inside and gave them permission to take items she believed could help find Keimani, making the warrants essentially extra protection rather than a requirement. Well, in the state of Ohio versus
Oh man, so you know, the judge said we are gonna use the evidence. Okay, so we are all up to speed with all the facts on this case. We're gonna keep following it. But I'm gonna there's a video I'm gonna play for everybody if they're new to the case. Just a little bit of a background about what's been going on and what happened to our girl, Keimani Latigue, who was 13 years old, unalived by her father, allegedly. So let's just go ahead and take a listen, a little background for the people that are new and that might tune in and on the replay. And then when there's another update, we'll bring it to the table, you know? Yeah, give me one moment, y'all. One moment. A dream on, dream on, dream on. You could reach 3 billion a dream on. Dream on, dream on. Oh, I'm dreaming, all right. Dream on. Do, 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 do. Hold on, folks, Molly. Bow, chicko, wow, wow. All right, so here's a little background on this case, and then again, y'all, when yours truly and the biggest M I know comes back, we're gonna drop our Discord, and we can pop our ish if you want to pop ish and tell us what you think or your opinions on any cases that we cover. You do it in the back, you know, with us, you know, or you don't have to. But we're just gonna keep doing what we do, real smooth like, real cool like, and most importantly, real true like.
Death penalty cases in the appellate process, including.
Okay.
Jones is also seen on this body cam video, allegedly pulling a gun on police in another city while he was allegedly on the run. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. Basketball with her friends, and according to local media, she was set to receive a kindness award before she was killed. Her name was Keimani Latigue. She was just 13 years old. Police say she went missing on March 18th, and less than a week later, her body was found in a vacant house. It's a house that used to stand here. There's now memorials surrounding the lot. We'll get into what happened to the home in just a moment. This in Toledo, Ohio. When Keimani's body was found, there was a warrant out for her dad's arrest. On March 25th, police in Columbus found Jones walking on the street, and this is what happened next.
Come here, man. Don't do it. What's your...
And if you're coming in new, I just want to let y'all know we're just, you know, we did well, I updated myself, me and Big M did, and everybody who wanted to join us, you know, listened in. And we are now just getting a little background about what happened to Keimani Latigue. Justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all.
Your hands, kill me. Dude, show me your hands right now. Pull your hand out. I swear to God, pull your...
At that moment, you can see Jones make a sudden movement and the officer fires multiple times. I can't show you the moment that officer's fired because of the rules here on YouTube. You also might have heard what sounds like Jones saying, quote, "Just kill me," as the officer pulls his weapon to confront him on the street. So let's pick up the video here as officers now search Jones, who is on the ground and wounded, but still alive.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Finish in a second! Get medic,
don't move! Don't move!
Alright, suspect's down. All you guys are okay.
Don't move. He's got 33 right there.
33 in his hands?
No, it's a walkie-talkie, but there's 33s right here. Don't you move or you're going to get shot, okay? All right?
Got it.
Yep.
That's him.
Somebody get
on the main air. Get us a medic.
I'm working on it.
If you look closely at the video, you can see the gun that Jones allegedly pulled on officers. Jones was in the hospital until April 10th when he appeared in court in Columbus. He was held without bond. At that time, he faced a charge of felonious assault on a police officer in Columbus. The court ruled that he would be extradited to Toledo to face the more serious charges of what he allegedly did to his daughter. And that brings us to where we are now in this case. A grand jury returned this 15-count indictment against Jones. We know, according to the coroner in Lucas County, that's where Toledo is, that Keimani Latigue's cause of death was related to multiple incision wounds to the neck. That means that something was sharp, like a knife, and that was used to kill her. But the new grand jury indictment lists graphic and disturbing details about what Jones allegedly did, including not only allegedly murder, but rape. The indictment specifically says that Jones allegedly committed the offense with a sexual motivation, and it lists him as a sexually violent predator. The grand jury also says that Jones allegedly tortured or cruelly abused his daughter, and that Jones allegedly treated a human corpse in a way that would, quote, outrage reasonable community sensibilities. I want to take a moment to talk about one of the sponsors of On the Case, Thrive Market. If you're like me, you care about what you put into your body, but finding murder, 2 counts of rape, 3 counts of kidnapping, aggravated burglary, 2 counts of endangering children, 2 counts of tampering with evidence, and 1 count of gross abuse of a corpse. Here's what else we've learned when it comes to the investigation into Jones. We've pulled court documents that show he is charged with murder and assault, and in the document originally filed related to an abduction charge, the court records allege that Jones did remove his daughter without the consent of her guardian, reportedly her grandmother, from her home. The document also says that when police spoke with Jones, he gave inconsistent statements about where he went with his daughter. And this is not Jones' first interaction with the legal system. We were able to pull records that go back to 2011 when Jones was arrested for arson for allegedly lighting.
Dang, I'm gonna put that in my handy dandy notebook again, if it's not already in my little file for Keimani Latigue, because again, we broke down monster number 3 in the end of December on our monster countdown. And now we are all up to date because there was an update in the case 5 days ago on, yeah. He's looking at the F penalty. It's Lucas County's first F penalty case, and they're pursuing it. They tried to suppress evidence. The judge said no.
A commercial building on fire. Then in 2015, he was arrested for carrying a gun after being convicted of the 2011 felony arson, and a witness said he had fired a gun outside a house in Toledo. Then in 2017, we found that he was arrested for felony assault, where police say Jones smashed an alternator into a man's face and sent him to the hospital where he had to receive 20 stitches. Then in 2022, he He was arrested again for carrying a weapon while having been a convicted felon. And the most disturbing charges, though, those are the ones that he's accused of in the case where he allegedly murdered his daughter. I want to show you this video that we just shot of where the vacant home once stood, where Keimani Latigue's body was found in Toledo. Again, this was a vacant building. If you look at this image on Google Maps, you can see what this house looked like. But this past weekend, the home burned down. The home has become a place where people have come to place flowers to honor Keimani Latigue's life, a life that was cut so short. Again, just 13 years old. Latigue was in the care of her grandmother. Jones did not have custody. This family was known to the local family services organization. In the wake of Latigue's death, a task force was formed to investigate Lucas County Children's Services and how they handled the case. The head of the organization told WTVG-TV that they feel they were thorough in her case. They say that Keimani was in the custody of her grandmother, who admitted to using physical discipline, but there was no evidence that meant that Keimani should be taken from the home. They also say the teen said she felt safe in the home. WTOL reports that the agency says there is no mention of Darnell Jones in their records. Joining us now is prosecutor and former Deputy Attorney General for the state of Ohio, Mark Weaver. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to be with us on what is such a difficult story. We have this 15-count indictment returned by a grand jury. What should we take away?
You know, again, this young lady was unalived by her biological father. Justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all. Forever 13.
Away from what the grand jury put forward in this case against Darnell Jones.
This is Lucas County, Ohio, where Toledo is. We don't see a lot of death penalty cases coming out of Lucas County. This will be a death penalty case unless it gets reduced in some sort of plea agreement. So this will move forward as a death penalty case. I've worked on numerous of them, both death penalty cases, both as Deputy Attorney General and then as a prosecutor. Much more difficult case to bring. Every bit of due process you can imagine is built into it. All of the work of the prosecutor has to be exacting and painstaking to make sure everything is done correctly. So I imagine that the Lucas County prosecutor will put their very best people on this.
And when you look at a 15-count indictment, and it's horrific what this man is accused of doing to his own daughter, what is the difference between a grand jury putting forth an indictment and then where the process goes from here, where eventually, if Darnell Jones is convicted, the difference between that grand jury phase and then the trial jury phase?
Under the Ohio Constitution, every felony charge must be brought forward by a grand jury. As your viewers know, that's a group of citizens who meet in secret and look at the evidence to see if there's probable cause that a felony was committed. So the grand jury handed up this 15-count indictment with all of these felonies, any one of which could serve 10 or 15 or 20 years. Some of these will merge, meaning that he can't be sentenced on all 15 of them, but he can be convicted on all 15 of them. And it now moves to the trial process. So there will be pretrial motions. Almost certainly defense is going to raise some sort of competency issue. There's very little daylight for them to be able to move around in this case. So I would imagine we're going to see some form of incompetency issue. Maybe they have some quarrel with how he was arrested or if there was a search warrant. So there's likely to be a motion to suppress. So these pre-trial motions that happen in the months ahead of a criminal trial, that's the phase we're moving into next.
You look at this case and the family was known to the local.
Oh, again, justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all. You know, she was 13 years old, allegedly. Her father, Darnell Jones, unalived her. He raped her. And he dumped her in a abandoned house and just left her there, allegedly, you know. Everybody has a right to the fair trial, so let's just keep listening and justice for Keimani Latigue. We want justice, y'all.
Child and Family Services organization in Lucas County, but there was no evidence from what we've heard so far that there was no evidence to remove this child from the house from previous instances. She had been in the care of her grandmother. In your experience, what do you take away from what we're reading about some of the potential red flags leading up to the death of Keimani Latigue?
Well, there's the criminal case, and it appears this man, Darnell, two different names, last names, I'm not sure which is the right one, but it seems like Darnell is squarely at fault and culpable for this case. He's presumed innocent until he's proven otherwise, of course. But then there's a civil case, potentially, to see whether or not the county committed any negligence in supervising this child. I've worked with a lot of children's services agencies over the years, and here's the thing that most people don't know. They are overwhelmed with cases. They're overwhelmed with allegations and referrals, and they are not mind readers.
And never mind. Justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all. Justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all. Crazy work. This is America.
So when they go out to a home to do a check on a child, they can't know that perhaps there's a father out there with deeply evil intentions who's going to show up one day and do the sort of crimes that this man has been charged with. And so it's a high standard to sue the county to say that they're somehow responsible, but we see it often in cases like this.
And you look, and I just think of your time as a deputy attorney general, and you see some of the challenges in the state of Ohio. And we've heard, stories of child and family services organizations, how overwhelmed they are. And sometimes it seems we only hear about them in cases where people are like, why didn't you do more in that situation? But in these cases, I mean, typically, what is the bar? And I know your experience is more from the prosecutor's side, but what is the bar to remove a child from a home?
Well, and ironically, in Ohio, the prosecutor's office is the statutory counsel for the Children's Services Agency. So when they get sued, the prosecutor defends. That's not true in every case.
Oh, this is interesting, but this is for Ohio, y'all. Remember, every state is different. So this is Ohio law. I just want to put that out there when it comes to the CPS workers. Again, justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all. Forever 13.
Case, but it is in Ohio. That's how it works. You have to be able to show that the people who were supposed to be monitoring this child, the people who work at the Children's Services Agency, had some reason to know that this was possible or even likely, and that they ignored that. It's a pretty high standard. It can't just be that they weren't careful and didn't check every box. It has to be something that would suggest that they were well outside what we expect from our children's service workers. And if that's true, then the county can be sued for money damages, and that case would be brought by the family of the dead child.
Going back to talking about the death penalty and the possibility of that being the fate of Darnell Jones, if he is indeed found guilty of what police are alleging, what does the process look like where someone commits murder? It's awful. But if they were to commit murder at the level of what we're reading in this grand jury indictment and what police are saying he did, how does it get to that bar where the state decides that this is a case where life in prison is not good enough if someone's found guilty?
All right, I got my pencil ready because I want to know, because only certain states still have the chair. So remember, we heard the judge. They tried to give a motion to say, please don't give him the death penalty, and the judge said no. So I want to, write these things down. So y'all, let's listen. Justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all.
So in most states, certainly in Ohio, we have murder charges, and then we have aggravated murder charges. So murder is your actions killed somebody, and aggravated murder is your actions killed somebody, and you acted with prior calculation design, and maybe it was a certain kind of somebody. Maybe it was a police officer. Maybe it was a child under 13. Or in this case, maybe you were committing another felony in addition to the murder, and that makes you death penalty eligible. These are aggravating circumstances to murder, which is why we call this form of murder aggravated murder, or also known as capital murder. Now, let's be clear. I will not be surprised, nor should your viewers be surprised.
Dang, so I love to learn new things. So we got aggravated, we got first degree, we got second degree, we got manslaughter, and then capital. I mean, which capital is the same thing as But yeah, there's different levels to this. So that's what determines. Interesting. I think every state should have the chair. Whoops. That was just my opinion, but again, our opinions don't matter. Justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all.
If there is a plea agreement that goes something like this, prosecutor to defense counsel, if your guy will plead to ag murder without the death spec and accept life in prison, we will drop the death penalty charges. We'll go, and this will be done in a few months.
Did you know that nearly half of US TV streaming time is on Roku? With Roku's new self-service ad tool, it's easy to set up your own CTV campaigns. So you can tap into...
I suspect that sort of conversation will happen. Who knows? The defendant has to...
I wonder if he will take this to trial, or if he will take a plea if he is offered one. We're gonna keep covering this case, but we're all up to speed, and I just wanted to remind everybody, you know. And again, we broke down Darnell Jones. He was monster number 3 coming into the new year. We did 10 monsters. So yeah, but we're gonna keep updating everybody. And justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all. Forever 13.
Agree to that. Maybe he thinks he can roll the dice and get past this. But if he would like to avoid being executed, that's one way to do it.
Why would the prosecutors, if they have, and it appears they have a lot of evidence, apparently he also admitted to police officers that he did this. That was according to WTOL and documents that they looked through. So it seems like if you're prosecutors, why would you want to make a deal if you already have a mountain of evidence and you feel pretty good about how strong your case is?
As a prosecutor, I always want to move forward and try cases. I do this on a part-time basis. In Ohio, you can be a part-time assistant prosecutor. So this is where I get my jury trial experience. So I enjoy prosecuting cases, but sometimes it's better to resolve it this way. Here's why. Number one, we have not had an execution in Ohio for more than 8 years. There's been a dispute over the form of execution, which is lethal injection, and the kind of chemicals available to make that lethal injection happen. So Ohio is not currently executing people. Number two, there is so much scrutiny on death penalty cases in the appellate process. It can go on for years and years and years. And the loved ones of the person who was murdered don't get the closure they would if there's a sentence that says, yep, you're going to prison for the rest of your life. You pled to it, so your appellate rights are very limited. If it's resolved that way, the victim's family will leave the courthouse knowing almost certainly that this life in prison sentence will stick. In a capital case, and I remember...
Yeah, I always wondered that. I always wondered why people sit on, but again, maybe because it's like, it kind of contradicts, you know, if you sit on death row for 30 years, you're doing that time, and then, and then you're just anticipating your demise, so I feel like if you get the chair or the penalty, that, I mean, why are we waiting 30 years? But again, I just gotta, educate myself. There's a method behind everything out here, y'all. You just gotta educate yourself. So I'm gonna put that in my notebook. Justice for Keimani Latigue.
Meeting with the families of the victims of a serial killer who I prosecuted in a death penalty case. I met with them right after the conviction and the sentence, and they asked me, is it sure, are we sure that this is going to happen? And as I always say, you can never be sure. In a death penalty cases, there are so many appellate rights and so much scrutiny brought on it. Any court, state or federal, can overturn that verdict and send it back down for another trial.
What does the timeline look like on this case? And how do we get to the point where the judge or jury would say that the death penalty is what we're going with for a sentence for Darnell Jones if he's found guilty?
So from the date of the indictment, a defendant has to be brought to trial within 270 days in order to guarantee his speedy trial rights. If the defendant is in jail awaiting trial, every 1 day counts as 3. So it's essentially 90 days to bring it. What almost always happens, I haven't seen this in this file yet, but what almost always happens, the defense waives that speedy trial right, so they have time to look at the evidence. Or if they file motions, it tolls or pauses the speedy trial clock. So in theory, it's supposed to happen in 90 days. Almost never does it happen in 90 days because of those pausing events that I just told you about, either voluntarily pausing or filing a motion that causes them to pause. During this time, the defense counsel will be looking at all the evidence that the prosecutors and police have amassed, looking for some hole in the case. As I mentioned, probably filing a competency motion or filing a motion to suppress, trying to find some way to get their guy out of what appears to be a pretty strong case.
Yeah, and I think too that it's not the only case that he's facing, because when he was arrested, he allegedly pulled a gun on police and police had to shoot him. We have the body cam video of that. So he's facing felonious assault on a police officer in Franklin County, Ohio. How does it work where he has a lot of...
Oh man, this guy is in trouble, man. I wonder if they're gonna give him the chair. Remember, be sure to try to answer the poll, y'all. And again, hit that thumbs up button for yours truly and the biggest I know, you know.
layers to his legal case in Lucas County, but then you also have a very serious case in Ohio as well, in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, Franklin County was where Columbus is. That case has been dismissed for now. It can be brought again. They dismissed it in Franklin County to allow for the extradition of this defendant back to Lucas County, where his real problems are. I wish I could tell you that people who commit felonious assault on police officers in Franklin County go to prison for long periods of time, but they typically don't. And so I'm sure that the Lucas County prosecutors were happy to have the case essentially dismissed in Franklin. It could be brought again, but his real problem is in Lucas County. I wouldn't expect that you'll see anything in Franklin County unless something goes sideways in Lucas. If for some reason there was a procedural defect and that case gets dismissed, then you would see Franklin County, hopefully, depending on that prosecutor's ethos, bringing a strong case for that felonious assault charge against the police officers in Columbus.
Yeah, because how long does you would think someone who would pull a gun on a police officer and in that situation that would be enough for someone.
Again, I hope we go to trial soon, or, you know, I wonder if he will take this to trial or if he has extended an offer, if he will take it. We're going to keep following the case. Justice for 13-year-old Keimani Latigue, y'all. Forever 13. Justice for Keimani Latigue.
To see prison time, but that typically doesn't happen there?
Well, there's a lot of it. First of all, there's a 6-year statute of limitations, so that case can be brought anytime in the next 6 years. But depending on the judge you get, and judges are elected in Ohio, and different judges have different perspectives. Some of them come from a defense lawyer background, and they're much less likely to give out a serious sentence. And so as a result, the best chance for this defendant to be in prison for the longest time is going to be this case in Lucas County, which will either be pushed to a death penalty trial, which is a significant, difficult undertaking, or, as I suggested, will be pled down to a straight aggravated murder without the capital spec, meaning life in prison without any possibility of the death penalty.
I'm always fascinated for the people who try cases and the responsibility, and you know it as well as anybody, the responsibility you carry, even in a case where it seems like you have every piece of evidence in the world to convict this person who's incredibly dangerous based off his criminal record in the past and what he's accused of right now. What is it like to be in the prosecutor's office and being the person who is going to be trying this case if it gets to that point?
It's an exhausting process. As the prosecutor, you have the complete burden of proof. The defense counsel doesn't even have to prepare. And
that's a great question, because I remember when I was just watching, you know, London Thomas on Friday or this weekend, and I was just, you know, watching, and I was just like, I just wondered, you know, like, you know, how, like, watching that prosecutor and that FBI agent look at them pictures, and, you know, it just, you know, and they just, it's part of their job, you know, and they conduct themselves in a way, you know, that they show no emotion. So that would be really hard. Takes a lot of discipline. Yeah, but it can be done. Justice for Keimani Latigue.
Show up with a case. They do, but they have no burden of proof. And so when we all sit down at trial and the jury takes their seats in the jury box and the judge looks over to the prosecutor and says, Mr. Weaver, on behalf of the state of Ohio, you may begin. All of the burden is on us. Have we identified every possible witness and given it to the defense? Have we talked to each witness so we know what they're going to say? Do we have our questions ready? Have we marked every piece of evidence? Was it gotten properly? Was it shown to the defense counsel? Then we have the questioning process. The other side gets to cross-examine and we come back and we get direct examination. Then we have the opening and closing statements, and we have maybe a rebuttal case, which comes after the defense case. At any point, if the defense counsel says something was done wrong and asks for a mistrial, the entire thing can stop and has to start over again, or in significant cases, sometimes can't even start again. So the prosecutor's got a tremendous burden on them. I will be in trial next week, for example, on a child rape case that I'm on the prosecution team for. And so I know this weekend I'll be spending a lot of time looking at that evidence, preparing my portion of the case, and getting ready for what is a very important case.
Did your teenager develop depression, anxiety, or eating disorders after becoming addicted to social media platforms? A global settlement may be coming in 2025. These platforms allegedly failed to protect vulnerable youth from addictive algorithms and harmful content for years, putting their mental health at risk, and now landmark lawsuits are forcing them to pay victims.
And you look at this story, and in hindsight, you look at Darnell Jones, and he had a record that included arson, carrying a gun when he wasn't supposed to.
You know, we got to do better. Our judicial system has to do better punishing these criminals. You know, but justice for Keimani Latigue, y'all, forever 13.
There was an assault case that he had in the past. Nothing related to sexual misconduct from what I was able to see, sexual assault. Or something as serious as murder, as he's accused of in this case against his own daughter. He did not have custody of this girl. It seemed like Child and Family Services was at least aware of the family. I just look at this, and it's what more could have been done. And just in your experience, what more could have been? What needs to change in the system so you don't have a situation like this, or is someone like Darnell Jones, who just seems, from what he's accused of, over and over and over again, committing crimes, just someone in, I don't know if inevitable is the word, but it just seems that what more could have been done to stop him from what he's accused of doing?
I spent most of my career working in and around law enforcement, local law enforcement, county level, state. I was a spokesman at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. early in my career. And so one thing I've seen looking at all these cases is that there is evil in this world, and there are people who are willing to commit that evil. There is.
Yes, there is. There's good, bad. I mean, good, evil, right, and wrong, you know? Evil and wrong go together, and right and good go together. Well, for some. Justice for Keimani Latigue, forever 13.
There's nothing we can do to make that go away completely. We want to do the best we can with the tools we have, but we live in a free society. And so the ethos of the founding of America is that people get to be free of government intrusion and government surveillance to the greatest extent possible. So we don't know what lives in the hearts of people who are thinking about what they're going to do to somebody. What we want to do is, once somebody is identified as a violent person in another case, we need to give them longer sentences, because one thing we do know, that if they're behind bars, they can't prey on innocent people in the community. Longer sentences helps, stronger sentencing laws helps, and having a serious approach to law enforcement and supporting our police. These things are all important ways to keep us all safe.
All right, Mark Weaver, former Deputy Attorney General of the state of Ohio and
Well, that man definitely has his credentials. So he kind of does know what he's talking about. He definitely has his credentials. So I ain't mad at what he said. You know, he can He has the right. He has certified credentials to do that, you know. So y'all, again, we broke down Darnell Jones. He was monster number 3. We just got we missed like 2 updates, I think. There's only 2 on there when we just did this presentation that I think that I didn't see, that we didn't present when we broke down monster number 3 and the monster breakdown or whatever from in January or December for the new year, you know. So we are all up to speed with all the facts on the case, entailing all the evidence, the motions we heard from the court. So that's all we got. That's all we can really, you know, that's where we got to leave it. And we got to continue to pray, keep her in our thoughts, and justice for Keimani Latigue, you know. So we are going to end it like I always do. Good old Winnie the Poohski, y'all. You're smarter than you think. You're braver than you believe. And you're stronger than you seem, you know. I feel it in my heart every time, y'all. You know, it's all love over here. It's real true over here, you know. And until next time, y'all be real smooth with it, real cool with it, and most importantly, real true with it, or as true as you can be with it, you know. And always remember, God does not like ugly. Amen. In my big M voice. Peace.
My damn self.